everybody. In this video you'll be learning about array lists in C#. The agenda of my video will be what is an array list, what is the difference between list and array list, and what is the difference between arrays and array lists, and at last methods that we can use with array lists. So let's get started with. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to create a console application in Visual Studio. Okay, over here I've created a console application in Visual Studio and I've called it Collections in C# Demo. So first let us understand about what is an array list. Basically, an array list is a non-generic collection of objects, and you can store data of any type inside of an array list. Then the array list will take the length or the size of it dynamically itself. Now let's understand about what is the difference between an array list and a list. So the basic difference between them is that a list is a generic collection, whereas an array list is a non-generic collection. This means that while working with lists, we have to specify the type of data that the list is going to store. But while working with array lists, you don't have to do that, and you can store data of any type. Now let's understand about what is the difference between an array list and an array. So the answer to that is that while working with arrays, we have to specify the length of the array at the time of declaration itself. And arrays are strongly typed. But array list, while working with them, you don't have to specify the length of the array list. It will take the length dynamically. And over here, what I mean by strongly typed is that for arrays, you can only store values inside of the array of one type that is specified. But while working with array list, you can store values of any data type. Okay, that's the difference between lists and array lists, and the difference between arrays and array lists. Now let's take a look at how we can declare an array list. So over here, say array list. Oh, I spelled that wrong. Array list. And we have to give our array list a name. Let's go ahead and call this array list and initialize this to new array list. Okay, and we have an error over here, that is the type or namespace array list could not be found. Are you missing a using directive or an assembly reference? So the namespace basically of an array list is system.collections. So we don't have that namespace over here. We have system.collections.generic, but we need system.collections. So I'm just going to add that namespace using system dot collections system dot collections, and I've spelled that wrong. System dot collections, and now as you can see our error is gone, and this is highlighted right now because an array list comes from this namespace. Now over here we can just put in curly brackets just like how we initialized our lists, and then just click enter, and inside of here we can have values of any type. So first let's have like an integer like 10, and then you have to separate the second and the first values with a comma. Now let's have a string. So I'll just do the comma and then a string over here like Akshith, just like that. And now you don't put in a semicolon over there, you just leave it how it is. Now there is even one more way to insert a value into this array list. That is of course just like how we do for lists by using the add method. So I'm going to say array list, that is this array list over here, not this class, array list dot add dot add, and inside of here you have to pass in the value. So this time let's say a boolean value, like for example true, and then add in a semicolon. So an array list can store data or values of any data type. Okay. Now over here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to declare a variable of type string and assign that to this value over here. Okay, let's see what happens. So I'm going to say string, let's say like name, because that value is my name, equals array list square bracket 1. Okay, and we have an error. Cannot implicitly convert type object to string. An explicit conversion exists, or you're missing a cast. So this error is because all of these elements that are inside of our array list are objects. So of course we need to cast this over here to an object. Just like that. I'm sorry, here we don't cast to object. It's already in the form of an object. Instead, we cast this to a string. Okay, we're doing boxing over here. So over here, as you may have noticed that while using an array list, you have to do, this is one more difference with an array list or between an array list and a list. Over here, while using an array list, all of these elements that are inside of here are objects, and while assigning it like this, you have to cast it to the type that is over here, right? You have to do boxing. But while you're doing that, you're doing the same thing with lists. You don't need to do that. Okay, you already specify the type, but for an array list, you don't do that. So when you already know the type of data that your collection is going to store, I recommend that you use lists, not array lists. But while you're not aware of the type that your collection is going to store, then you can use an array list. Okay, so while using lists, it's going to be more faster. Now let's take a look at how we can print the elements that are inside of our array list. So over here, I just don't need this variable. I'm going to say for each, just a tab, var, I'm going to call this x in not collection but our array list. And inside of here, we don't need these brackets, so just remove them. And say console.writeLine, CW, tab. So console.writeLine, I'm going to say I want to write the value of x onto the console. So I'm going to save this and run it by clicking F5. Okay, over here the program has run, and as you can see, it prints out the values or elements that are inside of our array list. So the first is 10, the second is Akshit, and the third value is true. Now I'm just going to close this, and let's talk about some methods that we can use with array lists. The first method that I'm going to show you that you can use is remove. Okay, so let me just show you that. And I just want to say you that the remove method is used to remove a particular value from an array list by value. So over here, let's say array list dot remove and inside of here you have to pass in the value that you want to remove. Let's say we want to remove 10. I'll add a semicolon there, and now 10 should be removed from our array list. Now I'm just going to run the program, and as you can see, 10 is not inside of our array list. We can remove any other value also, but you can just try that out on your own. Now let's go ahead and talk about the next method, that is insert. So basically insert is used to insert a value, of course, inside of our array list. So we have to pass in the index position and the value. So over here I'm going to change remove to insert. Okay, and then over here inside of here inside of here, we have to pass in the index position of where we want to insert the value. So let's say like 1, and inside of here, I want to insert Advik. Okay, now let's run the program. I'll just click Control plus F5. And over here, as you can see, first it's 10, and then it's Advik at the first index position, and then Akshit, and then at last it's true. Now I'm going to close that. So that's how the insert method works. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this for each loop. I just want to show you a property that is called count, which has the number of elements that are inside of our array. So over here, I'm just going to say console, or I'm just going to use a shortcut CW. And inside of here, we have to say ArrayList dot counts. And let's go ahead and run the program. And as you can see, it prints out 3. So that's the number of elements that we have inside of our array. So that's 10, Akshit, and this true. Okay, we are adding it over here. Okay. And I just want to say you that I'm not going to show you all of the methods that we can use with ArrayList. We can use all of the methods that can be used with lists with ArrayList also. So if you have not watched my previous video about lists in C#, I will strongly recommend you to go and check that out. Inside of which I explain about the methods that we can use with lists, and over here you can apply the same things. Now, I hope you have learned or understood about ArrayLists in C#. If you like this video, don't like and share this video. Please subscribe to my channel for more. And thanks for watching. Goodbye till the next video.